Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. This is Home in Progress by RepcoLite Paints, sponsored by Benjamin Moore. And let's just jump right in because I've got a ton of stuff I'm going to try to cover on the show this week. Coming up, I'm going to be talking about bathroom paint colors that can actually affect how you look in the mirror. All right, so there's hope for some of us. Maybe it's our paint color causing us some issues in there. We'll talk about that. I've also got a quick conversation I'm going to have with Jeff Mot, the manager of our Lakewood location, about the upcoming car show at his store. It's coming up in a few weeks. We'll talk about that. And then later, at the end of the show, I've got a story from when my kids were little that leads perfectly into a really simple but important paint tip. So that's a lot of fun. That's coming up. Right now, though, let's talk about another event from when my kids were little. It's one of those that we talk about as a family from time to time because it was really quite an event. Okay, the short story is that my daughter, when she was very little, put something in the microwave for 2 minutes, right? She's just heating something up for 2 minutes. The only problem was that she punched in an extra 0 and then walked away. Right, so 20 minutes is what that little goodie was cooking for. About 15 minutes later or so, I spotted smoke pouring out of the microwave, and then I ran into the kitchen to see what was going on, and I found, in the microwave, something in there is spinning around with flames shooting out of it. And so when I see that, being, the He-Man, guardian of the home that I am, and a quick thinker to boot, seeing all of that, I grabbed the microwave, yanked it off the counter, and then ran outside, and I threw it in a snowbank in the yard, in town, in Zealand. So that's kind of funny, right? Well, the real kicker here, the thing that's kept this story alive in the family for all these years, is that this happened around 10 o'clock or so at night, and I was in my underwear when I did all of that. Okay, barefoot in the snow, in my little whitey tighties, running around with a flaming microwave over my head. Kids love that story. They loved that visual. Everything about it was magical. In the house, no damage occurred. The fire was small, but we were stunned. And this is the bigger point. This is why I told you all of that. We were stunned when we couldn't get the stink to go away. That smoke smell was ever present. Day after day after day, it just wouldn't go away. And it got, quite depressing after a while. Now, maybe that's happened to you. You've left a pan on the stove or something like that. Maybe something gets burned way past recognition. Some kind of little fire in the kitchen. That happens. You deal with it. You move on. But the smell doesn't move on. All right, maybe that's happened to you. Well, today, let's talk about how you actually can get rid of that smell. All right, step one is really, really simple and straightforward. It's ventilation and filtration. Okay, nothing new here, nothing rocket science-y. Open the windows, run exhaust fans, use box fans to move air out of the house. And don't forget to think about the furnace filter. If smoke, you had a lot of it and it moved through the house, your HVAC system may have pulled, the smoke particles into the return air and, it could be in the filter. So replace the filter if it was, pretty significant. Ours wasn't significant enough to require that, but who knows what you're dealing with. Just keep that in mind. If you've got a portable air cleaner with a HEPA filter, run that. That can help pull fine particles out of the air. So step one, ventilate and filter, all of those things. Step two is where the real work, begins. You're going to have to wash everything. Okay, the thing to understand when it comes to this step, and honestly, this whole problem, this is the big key to it. Smoke smell isn't just something that's floating in the air. Right? If you get it out, now the smell is out there. That's what we sometimes think. That's not how it is. Smoke is made up of tiny particles and oily residues, and those particles land on things. They get into curtains, into upholstery, carpet, cabinets, walls, ceilings, air filters, clothing, all the little cracks and crevices in a room. And that's why regular cleaning often doesn't get it. You're not just trying to freshen up the air, you're trying to remove the residue that's landed on pretty much everything. So your cleaning step actually needs to be pretty involved. So the first thing is to start with the source. If it was a microwave fire, don't just wipe down the outside of the microwave and call it good. Unplug it. Clean the inside thoroughly if it's still usable. Remove that glass tray, the roller ring, anything removable. Get those things out, wash them all separately. Same thing with a stove incident, the burned pan, the range hood, the filters, anything there that you can get cleaned, get those cleaned. They could be holding the smell. But it goes way beyond that. You start there, but now you need to spread out. As I mentioned earlier, that smoke leaves a residue on everything. So walls, ceilings, cabinets, doors, trim, light fixtures, switch plates, the top of the fridge, all kinds of places that we don't normally clean. And don't just wipe everything once and move on. Smoke residue, like we said, it's oily. You may need to clean, rinse, change your water, and clean again. Now, for cleaners here, you've got a number of options. A mild solution of Dawn dish soap works really well. But there are other cleaners you can get a hold of. We carry a couple at the store. Crud Cutter, Champion. They're great. They're good degreasers. But you do need to be careful with them on painted surfaces. If you've got painted areas, that mild solution of Dawn, probably the best way to go. Once you've got the area cleaned, a product like Odoban, I don't know if I'm saying that right, Odoban, who knows? That product can really help kick that smell out for good. Odoban, O-D-O-B-A-N. O-D-O-B-A-N. It's a cleaner and a heavy-duty smell neutralizer. It can really help if the smell is persistent after you've washed everything. Also, with lingering odors, there are other things that you can try. Vinegar, baking soda, activated charcoal, and so on. But they're really just supporting players in this cleanup. The big step is washing everything. The thing to take away from all of this is that there are products out there that will help you when you find yourself in this situation. Now, in a couple weeks, we're going to talk about dealing with cigarette smoke. But for now, that's enough of that. All right, let's shift gears and talk about a car show that's coming to the Lakewood RepcoLite on July 18. We're going to get to that right after this. Home in Progress is brought to you by RepcoLite Paints and Benjamin Moore. People often think of paint as just another line item on the project supply list. But here's the thing. Everything you do, every hour of prep, every stroke of the brush, all comes down to the quality of the paint. The paint is the project. Make sure it's the best. We're back on Home in Progress, sponsored by RepcoLite Paints and Benjamin Moore. And this segment is going to be a little bit different because we're talking cars. But not just cars, we're talking about community and ice cream and a fun event coming up at our Lakewood RepcoLite location. I'm joined by Jeff Mot, the manager of our Lakewood store, to help me with all that. Jeff, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
So before we get into all the details, let's just give everybody the basic idea. What do you got going on at the Lakewood RepcoLite coming up? I think it's Saturday, July 18, right?
That's right.
So what's going on? Give them the basic scoop.
So we're having a car show and an ice cream social.
All right, so a car show and an ice cream social. All of that's coming up at the Lakewood RepcoLite store. It's going to be happening from 11 to...
2 o'clock.
11 to 2?
Yes.
Okay, because in all the flyers I made, it was 11 to 1.
Yeah, I know.
So I have made that incorrect then.
It doesn't. It's all right. It's fine.
Is it my fault?
No, I don't know whose fault it is. Didn't really matter whose fault it is.
No, it kind of does, Jeff. These things matter to me a lot. And, okay, so we've worked around that. I can just let that go.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm going to let that go. It'll probably come up 4 more times because it's tough for me to let go of things like that. So 11 to 2
Correct.
On Saturday, July 18. And we're way ahead of things here.
Oh, yeah, it's a ways out.
We're way early. I will remind people as we go, but we're early on it for a reason, and we're going to get to that. So let's back up a little bit because I think part of what makes an event like this work is when people, the person putting it together actually cares about it. And Jeff, this is all you, right?
Yes.
So if it succeeds phenomenally, this is Jeff.
We hope it does.
If it fails epically,
it's mine.
This is Jeff. No, we'll help you get through that as best we can. If it does fail, I hope it's nothing to do with that 11 to 1 thing on the flyers that I made.
I don't think so.
But you are so interested in this because you have talked to me. I can't even remember how many years in a row you've talked to me about doing a car show.
I bet you 5 years.
And I just don't get it. That's really the bottom line, is my brain doesn't get it. I'm not really sure how to do that, how it works. I haven't gone to many of these. What is it about car shows that you like?
So I kind of am interested in old cars from the 60s. I currently have a 66 International Scout. It's a kind of a pickup. Looks like a Jeep.
Okay.
But I've always been interested in old cars. You know, my age, I grew up in the 70s and 80s. I had an old 66 car that I drove to high school. So that was just what I'm interested in. And I like talking to people about old vehicles. This show is going to be a little different because we're also having new vehicles.
All right. So it's a mix of things.
It's a mix of things.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, I think maybe people who aren't car people don't always realize. But a car show, because I've dug into it, and I've gone to one or two on accident. I just happened to wander into a place where there was, what are all these cars here? I don't know. And then I figured out it was a car show. But it's not just people standing in a parking lot looking at vehicles or discussing engines. No, there's plenty of that.
Right.
But the one that I went to, one of my favorite things that I saw was, I don't even know what kind of car it was because I'm just not a car person. But it was old. It wasn't a fancy car. It was, something from the 30s, 40s, something like that. The thing I loved is they had a great big board out on an easel, and they had all these photos of the little old lady who was very young when she bought it.
Right.
And that's the person that these people bought it from when she was a grandma. And they had scraps of the original interiors and the history. It was like a little mini museum.
Yeah, definitely.
And just having that big conversation about where it came from, all the care they put into it. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Oh, yeah, definitely. A lot of people enjoy
just the restoration side of things.
Restoration and the history of it. And many times it's been passed down in the family. So, people, their dad or grandfather bought it new, and then it's been passed down, and it's been with them for 50 years.
Yeah. See, that part I really could get into. When you're going to these, do you have a favorite kind of vehicle that you love to see at a show?
Well, because I'm into trucks, so I like older trucks.
Okay.
Pretty much anything, though. Ford or Chevy, doesn't matter. International, 60s, 70s, even the 80s are kind of what I look for.
Do you like them when they're like restored to what they were? Do you like them when they're all tricked out weird?
Yeah.
I don't know what the right word is. I'm sure that's not it.
Well, I like off-road vehicles.
Okay.
So somewhat modified.
All right.
Lifted usually.
Okay.
But I definitely appreciate the old original vehicles too.
So now this show is it's not just it's the Corvette Club, but it's not just Corvettes.
So the Corvette Club is who we've invited, and they're coming, so they can have new Corvettes, 2026s, all the way back into 50s or 60s Corvettes. So there'll be some new ones and some old ones, and then yes, I'm looking for anybody to come out with their old classic cars and trucks to also join us.
All right, so we're going to get into that because, that's one of the things you wanted to... That's one of the reasons we wanted to air this as early as we could, just to get more vehicles there. Now, RepcoLite's a paint store.
That's right.
And we've got this thing going on a Saturday coming up in July, and people have to be wondering a little bit, why would we be hosting a car show? Now, to me, it makes some sense, because RepcoLite, really, we've always been, we're local, community focused, do a lot of stuff with the community. And the spaces in the store, they're kind of community spaces to some extent. Contractors are in, homeowners are in, they're bringing pictures of projects they're working on, and you see people multiple times through a project. So you kind of walk with them through it. So there's that community aspect. What are you hoping out of this day? It's a weird question, but one of the things that I think is a little bit not odd or anything like that, all the other stores are doing little events. They're not doing a car show. That was your idea. Everybody's been kind of tasked with come up with something fun to do this summer. We're calling it Summer Stops. People can stop by, all these different things. And you came up with the car show. And a lot of people have like, hey, we're going to have ice cream. You called yours an ice cream social, which has this older vibe to it. To me, what are you looking for at this event? What are you hoping to see? What's ideal?
So I'm hoping to have some actual customers and contractors that have old vehicles come to the show with their vehicles. And so we can get to know them better. They can enjoy the ice cream. We're going to have lots of toppings and things to go along with the ice cream. So I want them to come out and spend a few hours, get to know us better so we can get to know them better. and talk about their vehicles.
No, and it's a family thing too. I mean,
definitely.
Whoever wants to come.
Oh yeah, anybody wants to come. Yep.
Anybody wants to
bring
come.
your kids.
Charging for it?
No charge at all.
I knew that, but
Free ice cream.
free while it lasts.
While it lasts, yeah.
Right? Because who knows what we're going to get. We've never done anything like this before. Okay, so Saturday, July 18. If you're not a car person, that's okay. Still come out, walk around, see some of the cars, talk to the people, get the free ice cream. There's a few freebies and things like that. All of it while it lasts. If people are thinking about coming out, I know you guys got some construction going on in front of the store.
Yeah, on
Talk
Lakewood.
people through that a little bit. Does that...
So you can only go Lakewood from 120th going west.
But you can still get to the store.
You can still get to the store. That's not a problem.
And you can leave the store,
Oh,
right?
yeah, definitely leave
You're
the
not
store.
going to just be stuck there forever.
No, not at all.
You'll just have to go west.
You have to
and
go
eventually
west.
turn around if they need to go back east.
If they need to go back east, yeah.
All right. So casual, family-friendly, stop in, walk around, no charge, look at the cars, talk with the owners. Just enjoy the afternoon from 11 to 2. Now, the Corvette Club's bringing vehicles, and you mentioned you're looking for other people to bring vehicles.
Correct. Yep.
So what exactly are you looking for there?
So pretty much classic cars and trucks. Old motorcycles would be nice, too. If somebody has an old motorcycle and want to drive it over.
So if somebody's interested, they're hearing that and they're thinking, okay, that sounds kind of fun. What do they got to do? Do they have to register the vehicle with you?
No registration. Just when they pull in, we'll
That's
ask
when
them.
they give you the cash?
No cash.
Oh, there's no expense, no charge.
No. And
They just show up.
They'll just show up, and we'll direct them to just the right spot to park.
All right, so don't need to register ahead of time. If you've got a classic vehicle, if you do have any questions, how do they get a hold of you?
They can call me at Lakewood RepcoLite.
Okay, just call the Lakewood RepcoLite store. What's that number?
393-0025.
616 area code.
616 area code.
393-0025. All right, and you're not just looking for Corvettes.
Oh, no, not looking just for Corvettes. No.
Interesting vehicles,
Yep.
motorcycles even.
Yep.
All right.
We've got a few old ones already coming.
Okay, yeah, that's all helpful. Because a lot of people out there might be thinking, I've got something fun sitting in the garage, but they didn't necessarily think of themselves as car show people.
Right.
So it doesn't need to be a car that's been in car shows.
No, not at all. No.
I've got a 2005 Grand Prix. I don't know how classic that is, but
I'm
it's
not
old.
sure about that either.
And rust pieces lay on the driveway every time we move it. That's kind of cool. We could bring that. All right. So the ice cream, it's one of our summer stops. We mentioned ice cream. You said you've got toppings and everything.
Oh,
it's not
toppings
just,
and everything.
Not
Yeah.
just like
No,
ice
no.
cream sandwiches or something.
No.
All right. But while supplies last. Because
Yeah.
it's not an unending.
It's not ending, ending. But yes, I have quite a few toppings.
All right. Well, it's a huge idea. I'm very interested to hear how it goes. Well, I'm going to be there, so I'll see how it goes firsthand. Anyway, summer stops. We've got a lot of things going on at a lot of different RepcoLites. If you're in at any of the stores, just ask about ask for the invite. You can see what we've got cooking. And definitely swing out. Jeff's event, again, is going to be July 18.
Right.
11 to 2. It's a Saturday.
Correct.
Stop out, get that free ice cream, see Jeff, thank you for this idea, and then maybe next year, who knows what?
Expand on this.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, Jeff, I'll put links in the show notes if people want more info, and I'll remind people as we go. But thanks for taking time to talk about it today.
Thank you, Dan.
All right, last week we talked about bathroom lighting. We talked about a lot of things related to the bathroom, but we talked about bathroom lighting and how important that was when you're looking at yourself in the mirror. If you don't love what you see, it could be your lighting. Well, there's more that could be involved. There could be other things that are dragging you down. We're going to talk about color as well, how important color is in the bathroom. And we're going to get to that right after this. Home in Progress is brought to you by RepcoLite Paints and Benjamin Moore. Think about it. You spend hours prepping, sanding, taping, and then finally painting. Don't throw all that work away with an inferior product. The paint isn't just another supply. The paint is the project. Make sure it's the best. So last week on the show, I talked about a bunch of stuff to consider before you tackle a bathroom remodel. And one of the ideas that I covered was the importance of lighting in the bathroom, about how light over the mirror can make you look, washed out, tired, or maybe just kind of off, when you're standing there getting ready in the morning. You're listening to Home in Progress by RepcoLite Paints, sponsored by Benjamin Moore. And a lot of you wrote in about that whole lighting thing. Apparently, it's way more common than even I was expecting. It seems a lot of us, maybe most of us, have had that moment. You know, you think you look fine. You walk out of the door, you catch yourself in a different mirror somewhere, and you go, what in the world has happened to me? Well, today I want to pick up on that topic again because there's a second half to the whole story that almost nobody thinks about. You know, it's not just lighting in the bathroom. It's the color on your bathroom walls. So as I said last week, if you don't look as great as you wish you did, there's a chance. I mean, it could be a small chance. There's a chance that you don't look as great as you wish you did because it's the lighting in your bathroom. And there's a chance that it's the color on your walls. And really, when you think about it, it makes perfect sense when you dig into it. You know, my studio, for example, it's in a huge warehouse. And the other day I was walking through and the sun was coming in, you know, and I paused. It kind of caught me off guard because the whole area, that whole portion of the warehouse was suddenly pink. It all looked pink. I didn't know what was going on. It was really weird. And then I took a few more steps and I noticed some panels that somebody had made for something. They were painted a bright pink and they'd been moved, you know, the day or so before. And now they were in the path of the sun. They were catching the light and they were reflecting it back. It was new. And that's why it caught my interest or my attention. But that pink was everywhere. Now, in your bathroom, the color on your walls can do exactly that. You know, probably not as profoundly as that pink, because the pink in the warehouse here was a really bright pink on those panels. But still, the color on your bathroom walls can be doing that onto your face, right? Every single morning. And most people have no idea it's even happening. And that color literally can affect how you look in the mirror. And this is a little unique to the bathroom. You know, you may think, oh, this happens everywhere in the home. And it does to some extent. But it's a little more unique in the bathroom because of the unique nature of that space. You know, when you're standing in the bathroom, you're close to the walls because it's usually a small space. And you're staring into a mirror. You know, that's not the common experience in most other rooms. And also, depending on the lighting in the bathroom, there's usually a fair amount of it in that room. You know, it's not always the best configuration of light, you know, like we talked about last week. It's not always the best, but quite often it's one of the rooms that really has the most lighting. It's usually one of the brightest rooms in the home. And all of that adds up to that wall color getting bounced back onto you. And that wall color, like I said, can do what those pink panels did in the warehouse. It can color your face in subtle ways that you may not immediately realize. And it may be, you know, it may be starting you off in a negative that you don't need to be in. Now, photographers are aware of this you know, scenario, and they call it color cast. And the idea is simple. Whatever color is around you is going to cast itself onto you, onto your skin. And to work around this, photography studios, at least a lot of them, paint their walls a neutral gray on purpose. You know, flat, plain gray, so that they don't get this fake tint on your skin. What they're after is your true skin tone, and then they'll adjust from there with lighting. Makeup artists, they deal with this all day long too. A colored wall, a bright shirt, anything nearby. Those things can throw tint onto somebody's face and change the whole look. They know to watch for it. You know, they're aware of it. And that exact same thing is happening to you in your bathroom, at your bathroom mirror, you know, right now, or the next time you stand in front of it. You just never had a name for it. Now you do. Now you're so much smarter than you were just a few minutes ago, just from listening to Home in Progress by RepcoLite Paints. You're welcome, folks. You're welcome. All right. That's what can be happening in your bathroom. Let's go a little bit deeper and let's look at some of the biggest culprits, you know, the colors that really work against you the most. And let's start with yellow, because yellow's a big one, you know, especially a yellow that's got a little bit of green hiding in it. That color reflects onto your skin and it makes you look sallow, you know, tired, a little bit sickly, honestly. It cancels out the natural pink and red that's in your complexion, you know, the stuff that makes you look healthy and awake. So yellowy greens, not great for a bathroom in most situations. Strong reds, they're going to get you too. You know, a big, bold red wall is going to throw a warm cast all over your face. You know, that's like the pink panels in the warehouse that I talked about. The stronger the color, the more tint it's going to throw around. And here's another color that's a little problematic that's going to maybe surprise you. Gray. And right about now, you're probably thinking, okay, wait a minute. The photo studios, they paint their walls gray on purpose, right? So why in the world would gray be a problem here? Well, they do that, but here's the difference, and it's an important difference. The studios, the photography studios want gray because gray tells the truth. It doesn't add a fake tint. You know, we talked about that. But that real, true color isn't always all that flattering, on your face. So they use lighting, as we mentioned. They aim warm lights and reflectors right at you to put the life back into you. They start with an honest gray and then they warm you up to get to the point where you're acceptable for photographs. Now, most of us don't have a crew doing that for us in our bathrooms. We've just got the gray. So all by itself, what gray does to you is drain the warmth right out of your face for the most part. It leaves you looking kind of flat, kind of washed out. I'm laughing because I work in an exclusively, entirely gray room. And it's devoid of mirrors for that reason. But I do videos in here now that I think about it, and I probably, as I put them out on social media, people are probably worrying about my health or wishing that nature would speed things along so they didn't have to watch those videos any longer. So gray, that's what gray does. And when you think about it, it's been so popular for so long that many of us, many of you listening probably right now, have a lot of gray in the bathroom. And every morning, I don't know what that's doing to you. I don't want to get in your head and make it worse. Because if you were happy with what you had, well, don't even give this a second thought. But if you've kind of looked in the mirror and you've wondered, I just don't look great anymore. I look so tired and drained and washed out. Could be that gray. Something to think about. And another thing to think about is, it's one thing when you, look in the mirror and maybe you don't look your best. Maybe a lot of you guys especially are thinking, what am I going to do? It's not going to really change anything. Well, but you got to think about the ladies, guys, because there's makeup, right? Makeup involved, and I'm no expert, but it's really not that hard to imagine the scenario. If the wall is casting a color onto your face and then you're doing your makeup with that bad information, really what you're doing is you're correcting for a problem that the room invented. Say the wall makes you look a little green and a little tired. Okay, just imagine that. So you assume that's the real you because that's what you see every morning, and you pile on the blush or whatever to make your face look less corpse colored. Now, that's not very flattering. Well, this is not a flattering conversation anyway. You try, you do what you can to make your face look less corpse colored. It's beautiful, ladies. It just happens to be corpse colored. To you, it's not really how we see it because it's your bathroom wall color maybe that's doing it. But anyway, you overload your face with blush to just, get over that corpse coloring. Or sometimes it goes the other way and the wall makes you look really flushed and warm, so you skip the color that you actually needed to apply. Anyway, you do your makeup with that set of information, all of those things that you're seeing in that room. You do your makeup with that, and then you head outside into the world, into the real daylight. And the makeup is all wrong. It's too much or it's not enough. Thankfully, you're oblivious until you get to another mirror, and then you're stunned at what you're looking at. But everybody else, is looking at you because they all see you, and they're wondering what in the world you were thinking in the morning. They don't realize it was perfect in your bathroom, because of your terrible wall color choice. All right, so to varying extents, I don't know how, prevalent these issues are, but I know it's a real thing. It's really out there, and you really can run into it. It really is a possibility that you can face depending on the wall color that you choose for your bathroom. Now, one other thing to think about here with wall colors in the bathroom is that they're not just bouncing light back onto your face. In a bathroom, there's a really unique setup where you're standing really close to the wall and you're looking at yourself in a mirror with a given color, the wall color, as a backdrop. Now, we all know that certain colors look better on us than other colors, or at least that's not that hard to imagine. If we don't know what our colors are, we've heard people talk about them. And we've seen people in certain colors, and the colors are very flattering for them. And then we see them in other colors, and then they're not as flattering, right? We all know what I'm talking about here. Well, keep in mind that in the bathroom that can happen as well. A blue wall can look great in the space, but if it's not your color, you might never look as good as you could when you see yourself in the mirror, because that's the color that you're framed against. All of that is really intriguing to me, because it brings up something that I think really is completely unique to bathrooms. There are two things to think about when you're choosing your color for your bathroom. You've got to think about how they look, how those colors will look in that space. That's the thing we always think about. How are the colors going to look in that space with my stuff or with my new stuff or whatever? We're worried about the colors in that space with all of the little pieces and other things that we're going to bring in. In a bathroom, you've got to add a whole other layer to that. And you've got to wonder about how those colors are going to look against you. How are the colors going to make you look? There's two components here. It's really intriguing. You don't think about that in the kitchen. You don't need to. In the bathroom, you kind of do. A deep, moody charcoal or one of those, trendy green colors that everybody loves right now, they can be really beautiful in the room. The room can look like a magazine, but they can make the person standing in the room look a little bit unwell. A little bit unwell, a little unhealthy maybe. That color can be great for the space and still be terrible for you. So bathroom paint colors, they've got two different jobs, and people usually ever only think about the first one. All right, in the time that I've got left, let's look at some colors that often work well for people in a bathroom space. I mean, we talked about some of the ones that don't work so well. Let's talk about the colors that do. And right off the bat, let's start here. Soft, warm neutrals, warm whites, anything living in that peach, soft pink, muted pink, warm beige family. Those colors reflect a gentle, warm glow back onto your skin. And that warm glow flatters just about everybody, no matter your coloring. It's flattering for most people. It's like standing in nice morning light. Not many of us look bad just standing in nice morning light. If that's you, well, your bathroom's not going to fix that. That's a you problem. And I'm sorry about it. I'm sure you're a nice person. All right. You got a great personality. Lean into that. Spend less time worrying about the colors in the bathroom and just really focus on personality if you look bad in morning light. Anyway, so those colors, muted nature colors, they do well too. A soft blush, a powder blue, a quiet sage green, nothing too loud, nothing too saturated. Again, the key word is muted. Soft blue, I mentioned a powder blue. Soft blue is a funny one. It's calm, it's spa-like. People love it for a bathroom. And a pale powder blue is just fine, like we talked about. But if you push it a little bit darker or cooler, that blue is going to start to chill your skin down. It's going to make you look a little pale, a little cold. So keep that in mind. A soft, dusty lavender. That can actually be quite flattering because there's a little bit of pink living in it, and that pink works in your favor. But if you lean too purple, it can get cold fast. Warm earth tones, terracottas, soft clay colors. They're very forgiving on the skin, so keep those in mind. And remember, the wall and the lighting are a team. They work together. You put a nice warmish light on a flattering wall color, and for the first time, you're actually seeing your real face, not the room's version of your face. So keep that in mind. Lighting and color, they work together. So the big takeaway here, the color you choose for bathroom is never just about the room. It's about you as well. It's about how you look in there, how your makeup turns out, and honestly, how you feel when you walk out the door in the morning. So the next time you're standing in the store, looking at paint chips for a bathroom, falling in love with colors, do yourself a favor. Ask one more question. Don't just ask, does this look good? Is this going to look good, in my bathroom, on my walls, with my stuff? Remember that question. That's important. But also ask the second one that you need to ask when it comes to bathroom colors. How am I going to look in this? So maybe you got to hold it up behind yourself and, I don't know, get some opinions. You're going to have to test some colors. That's what Benjamin Moore's color samples are for. Or at least that's a really practical way to use them. For like $6, you can get enough paint to brush out a pretty large section and view the color in your space. Stand in front of it, view yourself in the mirror, see if you've made any improvements. All right. bathroom colors. That's enough of that. All right, let's take a break. And when we come back, I want to talk about a really handy little cut-in bucket. It's the simplest little thing, but man, it's absolutely so cool, so inexpensive. It's on sale now through the end of June. And I'm going to try to make the case for why you need to have at least one of these in your paint kit. And we'll do that right after this. You're listening to Home in Progress, where the projects are real, the mistakes, they're educational, sometimes painful, mostly educational, and the only thing more stubborn than that old wallpaper on your bathroom wall is your determination to get it fixed. Proudly sponsored by RepcoLite Paints and Benjamin Moore. Paint with a purpose, people who care, and everything you need to get the job done right. I stumbled onto one of my favorite stories from when the kids were little the other day. You're listening to Home in Progress by RepcoLite Paints, sponsored by Benjamin Moore. And I apologize if you've heard this before, but it's just a great story, and it makes a really good paint point. Anyway, we have to go back a long time for this story, to 2011 or so. My daughter Hannah is really young, 2 or 3. So get that in your mind. I was making dinner for the kids, and I made all of them SpaghettiOs. And then I put a pitcher of water on the table and figured I was good. They ate their food, they made a mess, and eventually they finished. I came behind, mopped everything up, wiped the table down, and finally, once they were all taken care of, parents, you know how this goes, finally I sat down with my own dinner. And as I ate, the kids came by one after the other, and they told me every single thing that happened during the day. Story after story went through my ears until eventually I found myself, just sitting at the table, my food gone, and Hannah, my 3-year-old or whatever age she was, sitting on my lap, still talking incessantly. My brain was thoroughly exhausted at that point, but I do remember grabbing the pitcher of water that was still on the table from the kids' dinner and pouring myself a glass. And then as Hannah continued to drone on and on about this or that, I took little sips and tried to understand what she was telling me. Well, at some point in all of that, I noticed that something wasn't quite right. I wasn't immediately aware of what it was exactly, and I tried to ignore the feeling, but my brain wouldn't let me. I took another drink of water, and then suddenly it hit me. I was chewing. I was done eating. I'd been done for a while. There was no food left on my plate, but here I am chewing. Now, drinking water, that's not normally a chewing experience, but I was sitting at the table drinking water and chewing it. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized I wasn't just chewing water. I was chewing something in the water. Well, naturally, I quickly grabbed my glass and I held it up to take a look. And when I did, I was shocked. Instead of clear, crystally liquid like you want to see, it was gray and murky. There were things floating in there. Something went by that looked like part of a meatball. Something else was, I was pretty sure was a SpaghettiO. And there were other unidentifiable things as well. It was a smorgasbord of gray food products, all suspended in a liquid that seemed suddenly thicker and heavier than simple water. Anyway, I picked up the pitcher, and a quick look inside revealed more of the same floaty things bobbing up and down in some gray, opaque liquid. And then I looked at the outside of the pitcher, and I saw these small orange SpaghettiO sauce handprints on the handle. Closer examination revealed orange lip marks around the rim. I looked at Hannah. Did you drink out of the pitcher? Well, she nodded, of course, and said, only twice. Well, apparently 2 times was enough for Hannah to completely poison the water hole. And there's the paint point. How many times have you started a painting project with some brushwork? You're cutting in around windows, doors, trim, whatever. Inside, outside, doesn't matter. When you do that, most people grab the paint bucket, the gallon or the quart. They carry it with them. They dip the brush into it. They wipe the excess off on the rim, and they paint. When the brush is empty, they go back to the bucket for more. That's like Hannah drinking out of the water pitcher. If you brush into a spider web or pick up dirt, especially outside, and then dip back into your bucket, you've instantly contaminated all the paint. And you're going to find that out later when you start rolling bigger areas. Suddenly you're picking little chunks of who knows what out of the finish. So instead of working straight out of the can, pour a little paint into something smaller. And right now at RepcoLite, we've got handy paint cups and handy paint pails on sale. The cups are cheaper and they're a little bit smaller. The pails are bigger. They hold up to about a quart. And the pails have liners available as well. Both of these things, the cups and the pails, are crazy easy to hold. The pails have a strap, the cups have a handle, and both fit comfortably in your hand. Right away, They're way better than working from a quart can or a gallon can or an old whipped cream container or whatever you might use. And my favorite part about them is the built-in magnet. It holds your brush when you need to set it down so it doesn't slide into the paint. Now, that may not sound like a big deal, but once you try it, you'll get it. It's really cool. Both the Handy Paint Cups and the Handy Paint Pails are on sale at RepcoLite now through the end of June. Stop in, grab a few. They're inexpensive, and you'll thank me later. All right, that's going to do it. If you want to catch this episode again, you can find it online at RepcoLite.com. Whatever you do today, make sure paint's a part of it. Have a great weekend, everybody, and I'll see you next week. For Home in Progress, I'm Dan Hansen. Thanks for listening.